Our mayor's Muslim. Our tube subways. Our Knicks gunners. Hot Zoran summer.
Hello, and welcome back to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sports culture in the UK and the USA. I am your resident Brit, Harry Collins.
And I'm your resident American, Adam Jordan. What a time to live in the greatest city in the world. And you could really make that argument wherever, whatever side of the pond you're on, because vibes in London and vibes in New York are as high as can be right now. But before we get into all that, we've got plenty to chat through on the front half of today's episode. So let's start it out, as we always do, Harry, with the patron saint. Who have you figured out for 37? Who's a good 37 in sports in the UK?
37 wrote himself. He is a footballer called Adama Traore, and by all measures, bar two, I don't think he's a very good footballer. Regrettably, one of the elements of Adama Traore's game that makes him so useful and important to the few clubs he's played for is this is the fastest footballer I think who's ever played in the Premier League.
Whoa.
Adama Traore he is built like an Olympic sprinter. He is unbelievably buff and he moves really quickly, which disguises his remarkable lack of talent. And Adama Traore is actually he's a very good winger, really good at carrying the ball. I don't think he's a very good dribbler, but he just kicks it beyond people and chases it like a greyhound, which makes him a really
So basically,
player.
he's exactly like me.
Yes, yeah. I draw the similarities between you and Adama Traore very closely. The other measurable element of exceptional element of Adama Traore's game is he is constantly very wet. He's a wet boy because, and I'm not joking, because he's so fast. Defenders used to grab hold of him, like grab his arms or his shirts. So he typically wears a skin tight football shirt, which is great because he's got an unbelievable physique. And then when he's subbed on and off, he like coaches will put baby oil on his arms so that when people go to literally grab him to hold him back, they just slip right off his wet
See,
limbs.
I thought you were gonna say that he's just a really sweaty boy.
No,
but no, he's like
they
actually
slick this guy
oiling
up.
himself strategically.
Yeah, and he's just like he glistens like he's straight out of the shower, even on like a bone dry day. And like I think he is a good footballer, despite the fact that I don't know what he's actually good at other than like this raw pace. But he's played for Middlesbrough. He currently plays for Fulham, I think, who might have just been let go. He played for Barcelona at one point. Adama Traore. He also seems like a perfectly nice guy. He doesn't deserve this sort of shade, but yeah, he's just this pace merchant. But yeah, and he wore the number 37.
I feel like he'd be an interesting piece in like a FIFA game. I haven't like regularly played FIFA or EAFC in a long time.
Yeah.
But I feel like he'd be somebody that'd just be fun to have on your team because he is like 98 pace or whatever.
When I was growing up, you would always like roll your eyes if the guy you're playing against has either Theo Walcott, Theo Walcott is a better footballer, full stop, but very, very fast, or Adama Traore, and they would just abuse your 750 coin non-rare gold centre back that you got given at the beginning of the game, and then you'd put your PlayStation remote through the TV. But Adama Traore, by just a distinct lack of other options, is our patron saint for episode 37. Now, Adam,
Patron saint by default.
yeah, which is going to happen a lot more. We've said this before. It's going to happen a lot more on the English side. I know we've got some really, really good numbers for American sports coming up, but I am scratching the bottom of the barrel. We have so many little newsy bits to talk about. The
So many little newsy
the
bits. I
World
like
Cup
that.
has started, but we are going to exercise biblical restraint and not talk about the World Cup yet. You want to talk about the Diamond Heels, the Stanley Cup, and Lewis Hamilton's maiden win in a Ferrari. I am going to limit you to two of them, and you get to pick
Okay,
which two you care most about.
Okay, great. I'm going Diamond Heels and Lewis, but also I didn't say that I wanted to talk about his maiden win in a Ferrari. You put,
True.
or I wrote down Lewis Hamilton in all caps. You have no idea what I was gonna be talking
Yeah, that's
about.
very
Maybe I was gonna actually do a segment on Kim Kardashian. Maybe I was gonna do a segment on how cool it is that his whole +4-4 business. Maybe I was gonna talk about him being is he vegan or vegetarian, whatever he is. Like,
vegan, yeah.
there's so many awesome things to talk about with Lewis Hamilton, but I will talk about Lewis's win in Ferrari. I just wanted to acknowledge it. Super cool moment. I feel like the if you go on F1's Instagram page right now, like all of the comments are like, this is now a Lewis fan page, because it's basically all they've been posting about since Sunday. And kind of rightfully so. Really cool story that he was able to get that win. A great story of sports perseverance for one of the sport's greatest, actually the sport's greatest in F1. So super cool. I thought it was really fun. I know you weren't able to watch, so I was live texting you
Yes.
updates, and I could feel the Adam Jinx coming on as I was typing stuff out, but I was like, not even Ferrari strategy can screw this up. And ended up being okay. It ended up being okay. It never got dicey at the end.
This
So
is a really
I was happy.
important part of our relationship, that Adam will be the first and most consistent commentator on sports events that I can watch in the UK, but are unable to. The number of times that Adam will text me about Brighton games, where I obviously have like flash mobile updates on, and my dad will text me, and Adam is giving me a play-by-play while I'm at work. It's exceptional. And while you were telling me on Sunday about the Barcelona race, the meme, the John Mulaney joke about the horse in the hospital, struck me, because like I didn't know Ferrari knew how to do just competent strategy. And without getting into the weeds, because actually, like, recalling the events of a Grand Prix is never entertaining. Just go and watch the highlights. But Ferrari have a painful history of just snatching defeat from the wide open jaws of victory. And this time they just slammed it shut. They just absolutely crushed it. And as you said,
Yeah.
gave the greatest Formula One driver of all time his dream maiden win in a red car. Now that's something that we've wanted to see for ages. And something that, you know, we've had to wait a little bit for, and sometimes we doubted whether or not it would happen. The other thing that you want to talk about, the Diamond Heels, you described before we started recording that this is, how did you put it?
It is a sports holy grail for
Holy
me.
Grail, yeah.
I have never, so if I had to define my sports holy grail, it is one of my baseball teams winning a championship. My two baseball teams are the Pittsburgh Pirates and the North Carolina Tar Heels. The Tar Heels, the Diamond Heels, as their baseball team is known, they were my first source of sports heartbreak. And that was because they were my first team that I ever followed as a kid. And, it's one of those things that you get all sentimental about with your dad because, like, I don't know, my dad and I, like, bonded over baseball from the very beginning. And that's always been our thing, but we've never seen one of our baseball teams go all the way. My first sports heartbreak was in 2006 and 2007 when I had just turned 8 and 9 years old, respectively. The Diamond Heels made it to the final of the College World Series, of the Men's College World Series, and lost both years in a row to the same team. And it's why I still harbor some resentment toward Oregon State University for that reason. But that said, Carolina is back in the final for the first time since 2007. They have been to the College World Series multiple times in between, several times in between, like at least 5, I think. But they have never been back to, the precipice of the mountaintop. So still work to be done. A 3-game series coming up this weekend against either Georgia or Oklahoma as we record. But very, very exciting about that prospect. Yeah. I really hope this works out because I can't stand more heartbreak.
We play Georgia or Oklahoma, and then it's the final, or how far do we?
No, we'll play one of those two teams, whoever comes out of that side of the bracket, in a best of 3 series this weekend.
Oh,
so
and that's
Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday if necessary. Yeah, and that's it.
Wow.
So as soon as Sunday or as late as Monday, we will know for sure.
It's
so
played in Omaha, Nebraska.
It is played in Omaha, Nebraska. I have never been. My dad actually went out to go see a couple of the games that Carolina was in this past weekend because he had to be out that direction anyway. And so he stopped off to go see it. But he and I have never done it together. I've never been out there. He hadn't been out there himself. So really cool that he got to do it. He said it was a great time, but definitely something that hopefully we can do together one day. But yeah,
Why is it in Omaha, Nebraska?
I'll be honest, I don't really know. I don't know the origin story behind it. I should look that up and we can talk about it on the next episode. But no, Omaha, like it's always been there since the event was an event. So yeah, it's been a tradition forever. It was for years and years at an old stadium that eventually finally just they grew out of it. Now we're at a newer stadium. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I would like to move on to our second installment of our world famous rulebook game.
Excellent.
You and I, if in case you didn't see it last go around, you and I created this game where, and really you and I, meaning you, created this game where we each pick a sport, look through the rule book, and try to guess the sport that we're talking about in as few clues as possible. So last time we both got it in 2.
Yep.
Harry, I'm curious to see what you've got cooking this time.
I think I was very confident when I wrote this. Looking at it, I reckon it's gettable in 3, and I didn't. I was so sure you weren't going to get my polo one last episode. That I said that I was going to walk to New York and buy you anything you want. So I've learned, and I'm not going to put any silly stakes on this. Your first rule, your most obscure, most vague rule is from Rule 12 of my mystery rulebook: the application of any foreign substance on any part of the approach that detracts from the possibility of other players having normal conditions is prohibited. This includes, but is not limited to, talcum powder, pumice, and resin.
The approach and players is players, like, did you put that in brackets? Like, is players a direct quote from the book? Like, is that the term?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good question. That's a good clue.
Because I'm trying to think about like what like in what sport would pumice become an issue? But yeah, players leads me to believe it's like a stick and ball sport kind of thing. On the approach, okay, I know it's not this, but just for the sake of not sitting on clue one, I'm gonna go long jump.
Oh, good guess. It's not, but I like the approach. And you know what? Rule 4A may, now that you've eliminated long jump, it might give you a little bit more clarity for Rule 4A. A delivery is made when the ball leaves the player's possession and crosses the foul line into playing territory. Every delivery counts unless a dead ball is declared. A delivery must be made by manual means. That is actually just a wonderful piece of writing. It's almost like prosaic. Go on.
Credit to whoever wrote these rules of this mystery sport. They knew what they were doing, and they clearly had written before. I don't think it's I don't think it's this, but it's not cricket, is it?
It's not cricket, but I did absolutely choose that one to lead you away, to lead you down the garden path before I'm pretty sure you're going to get it on, on
Okay.
on on the next one. But I just wanted to avoid you getting it into Rule 5A. A foul occurs when a part of the player's body encroaches on or goes beyond the foul line and touches any part of the territory, equipment, or building during or after delivery.
Oh, is this is this like squash?
It's not squash.
Oh
Or
boy. Okay. I'm gonna kick myself because I think I know what it is now.
you're you'll definitely you'll definitely get it here. Rule 5B, the one immediately after that. When a player deliberately fouls to benefit by the calling of a foul, the player shall be credited with 0 pinfall for that delivery and not allowed further deliveries in that frame. If questions
It's
arise, Rule 10 provisional ball should be followed.
That is so good. I really well done. It's bowling.
It is. It's 10-pin
Um
bowling.
but wow, I I was thinking when you said that I was thinking you pulled my the highlight thing that I had mentioned last week. But that was like obscure enough. I like that. I like that.
Good.
Well done.
Good. Yeah, I just I was looking at a couple of different rule books, and this one was clearly written by an author. Like this was written by a
Yeah.
poet. It's Rule 4A. I think I'm gonna have like stitched onto a pillow. It's
Yeah, I was
so
going to say
wonderful.
I was going to get that tattooed like a chess piece,
Nipple to
but
nipple. Yep.
I that's yeah,
All right.
respect. We got to find out who that writer is and see what else they wrote, and if they didn't, then they truly missed their calling. All right, your turn to be
Yes,
on the hot
please.
seat. I feel I I'm curious as to how mean you find this.
Oh, great.
Okay, your first rule is Rule 3, Section 2. It says during play, a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 7 players from a team may be on the court at any time, one of whom must play as center.
Volleyball.
Good guess, but incorrect. All right, your next rule is from Rule 4, Section 6. It states that an umpire's whistle can A, notifies the players when there are 30 seconds and 10 seconds remaining before the start of a period of play. B, starts and ends each period of play. C, restarts play after a goal has been scored. D, indicates when an infringement is penalized. hint that penalized is spelled with an S. E is only required to indicate when the ball or a player is out of court if it is not clear. F signals when the timekeepers are to hold time and when to restart timing play. Or G notifies the players when 10 seconds remain prior to the end of a stoppage.
This might be a real swing here. Oh, court. It's funny how quickly you lean on very, very specific words. Did
Yeah.
you say umpire or referee?
I said umpire.
Oh, see, because throughout that entire second rule, I could only think of blind football. For making sure that people are where they're supposed to be, and also timing in blind football, I know is really, really important. But I'm sure blind football would have a referee and not an umpire. However, you did mention that the penalised is in it was with an S, so it's probably in English language. Is it what is wheelchair rugby called? I think it's that. What's it called?
It's I didn't know it actually had a name.
It's
I
got
thought
a
it was just
crazy
wheelchair
name. It's called
rugby, but
murder ball or something.
oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
it's got an
Okay.
amazing
We'll
name.
have to
Is it?
We'll have to, if you are out there listening and you are a murder ball or whatever it's called athlete, let's have you on because I want
Yeah,
to hear more about this
big time.
amazing sounding game. But no, it is not that.
Okay.
And yes, this rule book is in English, not translated from another language. I know that's not what you meant, but it was just funny to me. Okay, rule number 1, section 13. A goalpost is placed at the midpoint of each goal line, so the back of the pole is at the outer edge of the goal line. It is inserted into the ground or sleeved beneath the floor, so when it is knocked, there is a minimal amount of movement and it remains stable.
A single goalpost.
One single
And
goalpost.
we've got a court.
Well, one single goalpost is placed at the midpoint of each goal line.
Yeah, sorry.
So
sorry.
that implies there are multiple goals.
But not
But
it's not a goal like we would refer
yeah,
to in
yeah.
football or
No,
hockey.
I'm with your.
A single goalpost. I might not have this. A single goalpost. I'll just guess. God, it's
Yeah, now it's
whatever
down
it
to
is.
how stupid is your guess going to sound.
Whatever it is, it's really good. It's an excellent Quidditch.
That's a really good guess. And as I was putting this together, that was honestly I thought you would get there at some point. It is not, but that's a pretty good guess. Okay, rule number 1, section 14, part 2. A goalpost must include a net, preferably white, fitted to the ring, clearly visible and open at top and bottom. The minimum length of the net is 380 millimeters or 15 inches, and the maximum is 457 millimeters or 18 inches.
So the net is a fuck, it's netball.
It's netball. Very
God,
well
that's
done.
so embarrassing. I went to Quidditch before I went to netball.
This guy will go to Hogwarts before he goes to Australia. You heard it here first. This guy is not touching Australia.
So interesting how quickly you compartmentalize the sport based on very simple terminology, and goalpost totally threw me. But yeah, okay, great. Okay, really good. What did I get that in? 3, 4?
That was 4. Yeah. So you
Okay.
didn't even go
All
the
right,
distance.
we're
Well
still
done.
tied. We are locked in.
Well done.
And just something else that we are sharing at the moment is we live in two wonderful cities where we have adopted this fervor for sporting achievement in New York and London. I don't think either of us would say that we are primarily fans of Arsenal or the Knicks, but last week the Knicks broke their, how long was their drought, their championship drought?
53 years since the
50.
last Knicks title.
And of course, last month Arsenal ended their 20-year drought for a title, and something that you and I both noticed was the profound effect it had on the cities that we live in. So that is the main body of today's episode, talking about I want to talk about why they've both won now, how it's affected the people in the cities, and why it feels why there are different prevailing emotions as a result of the sports systems that they're a product of. Now,
Yeah.
the other
Yeah, for
interesting,
sure. I don't think we're like necessarily trying to like answer super profound questions here. Like there'll definitely be some interesting insights along the way, and I'm very interested to hear, especially on that last point that you made. But like at the end of the day, pretty cool that like the two biggest cities in our respective countries, where we both happen to live and have like, quasi, relationships with. We've got they both won championships, long awaited championships. Certainly the Knicks with a more severe drought, but like the vibes are high. The vibes are high on both sides of the pond, and we just gotta talk about that. But yeah, no, please please roll into what you were gonna say, because I'm very excited for how we're gonna structure this.
so I think we should talk firstly about the similarities. What we both experienced as a direct result of these teams winning. You took to the streets when the Knicks won. Now, the only time that I've ever been compelled to run to a public space and enjoy a sports team winning was actually in Carolina at Chapel Hill when we would rush Franklin Street when we beat Duke, and I was very lucky to be there in a year. I believe we beat Duke twice. Now, when the Knicks won, and it's fun because you can kind of see the Knicks win coming because it's um, you know, uh, a maximum 7 game series, but you can get it done earlier. Uh, Tell us about what fun you had, where everybody goes, how many people are joining you. These are strangers that we're all having fun with. So what was it
Yeah.
like? What was that sort of street party like in New York?
Yeah, we're gonna have our on the ground reporting here. So, yeah, it was so cool. So I was actually out at a bar in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg. That's the thing about it is like New York's such a big city. There were watch parties of like equal size everywhere. I mean, Manhattan obviously kind of the epicenter, and there were more like organized watch parties, especially like down closer to Madison Square Garden. But certainly like all throughout all five boroughs, there were definitely everybody had the Knicks. So like just throughout the series, anytime the Knicks were on, they were on every TV everywhere. Any store that you'd walk to, any bodega that was still open, like you would see it on the TV. Everybody walking around, so many with Knicks gear, at least some orange and blue. Like the whole city definitely got behind it. But for that clinching game 5, I was out actually with at a friend's birthday party at a bar in Williamsburg, like I said, and it turned into a Knicks watch party, and like we could see that on the calendar, and I think we were all accepting of it, and everybody was more than okay with it. They had a big they had a projector on with the game, and I walked by every other place that I walked by also had the game on. Like it was just so cool. There was a lot of anticipation in the air, and then when they won, the whole place just started going nuts. They started playing music. People were singing the theme from New York, New York, with the Frank Sinatra song, and like all these different New Yorks. Like everybody was just like singing, and then went outside, and you see this massive people in the streets. And honestly, it was a lot like rushing Franklin Street. The only real difference being that Franklin Street, they know exactly that it's all going to be concentrated
Yeah.
in one spot. So like they'll shut down the street. This is just like a mass of people. All of a sudden, traffic's backed up. But strangers hugging strangers. On the way back, everybody in the subway is chanting "Let's go Knicks." The subway drivers, as they pull into the station, are honking the horn. Like it just was utter jubilation. I have, you know, so many people that people that I knew that I was with that don't, couldn't care less about the NBA, couldn't care less about the Knicks, all very excited because it encapsulated this excitement of a city. But I think we'll get into that. So, but I want to hear from you. It sounded like you and your friends all decided to descend upon the Emirates itself to take in Arsenal's win.
The We had a plan, me and our producers, Sean and Luke. Luke, who actually did our logo, they're both two lifelong Arsenal fans, and I've grown up around. I've always had family members who are Arsenal fans. I've always somehow managed to have like best friends who are Arsenal fans. So I have a level of compassion towards Arsenal not afforded to them by many other more casual viewers. Bearing in mind, I'm a fan of a different team in the same league, but we had this plan on the final game of the season that we would run to the Emirates wherever we were in the city after Arsenal's final game against Crystal Palace, when we thought they were going to clinch the title. What actually happened was Manchester City, the unstoppable sky blue force that has dominated the Premier League in the last decade, tripped on their final hurdle, and the title rushed up on Arsenal a lot faster than people thought. All City needed to do was beat a Bournemouth team who admittedly had a really, really good year, but like everyone assumed, title presumptive champions Man City, who always look inevitable with the best manager in the world and some of the best players, would just brush Bournemouth aside, and instead they capitulated. So we were watching this game independently, knowing that it was important for the title, but maybe in the hope that, oh, maybe Bournemouth scrape a draw and it's more likely that Arsenal win on the final game. No, Bournemouth just handed Arsenal the title on a platter. So it was impromptu. Nobody, I think there would have been some optimistic Arsenal fans who maybe already had it in their thoughts, but I think it really caught a lot of people by surprise. And we were texting as like the goals were going in. We were like, "This is happening tonight. We're going." So we all run to the tube and we all meet at one of the local Arsenal tube station, and because we're all coming from different parts of the city to go and celebrate at the Emirates, which it wasn't like a street party. Everyone in London who wanted to celebrate knew that they had to converge on the Arsenal stadium. As we're getting there, it's been probably 45 minutes to an hour after the final whistle that confirmed Arsenal as title champions. And as we're coming out of the tube station, people are coming in. People are leaving the Emirates. We're like, oh, we've missed it. And as we get closer, you can hear like the clapping of drums, and you can see like the sky above the Emirates, which is normally like this hazy straw orange color because they've always got the UV lamps on the pitch. It's now red and it's flashing, and you get there, and there are people with flares. There are dogs dressed as Arsenal players. There are 30,000, probably about 30,000 when we were there, which rose to like 45,000 at its height, all around the Emirates. Everyone was singing. There were fireworks. There were loads of police. Like Arsenal obviously knew that this was a possibility and took the correct precautions. But it was just an incredible assembly of so many different people, all united by a badge. And I imagine I wasn't the only imposter there. Luke very generously gave me a scarf that I could wear, so I fitted in and I grabbed my only red jumper. Um, and we were just there for about an hour and a half, just breathing it in, singing the same songs that Arsenal fans have been singing on the terraces and in the stadiums all season long. But the important difference, and it was exciting for the Knicks and it was exciting for Arsenal, but something that I think we should talk about is there was an enormous sense of relief at the Emirates. There,
Interesting.
we both of these teams have gone, decades without a title, and I'm really excited to know where the Knicks' strength came from, and if this is something that's been building, or if this was a bit of a surprise. Um, And actually, something to its credit, the NBA has had 8 different champions over like the last 9 years. Like it's a really, as far as like models for sport go, that is a really really competitive championship. But Arsenal have been like fighting and plugging away, like scratching at the very top of English football without making it for 5 years now. And I think and we'll get into like the how Arsenal won the title in a moment. But it felt like if they didn't get it done this year, where else were they going to turn next year to improve? And actually getting it done now, getting that monkey off their back, and then they also had a Champions League final to worry about a week later. That was very cool. The sense of joy at the Emirates was undercut and supported by this immense relief. And I think the relief is where like the purer happiness was. It wasn't a surprise. Arsenal have been really powerful these last couple of years, but they finally got over the line. And I think these 45,000 Arsenal fans came to be like, yes, we can all sleep comfortably tonight. We can all appreciate that the team has finally done this incredible thing, and we can finally bask in what is like now rightfully ours. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's not like the with in the Knicks case where you're not you can kind of just ride this wave of momentum and win it. It's whereas Arsenal, you've built up this lead and it kind of feels like all you can do is lose it. So yeah, I totally get the that kind of relief aspect of it. I think it's just that kind of that system where it's not a playoff, you're not playing a series.
sure,
The jubilation definitely feels a little bit different. But yeah, it's an interesting it's definitely an interesting kind of dichotomy there.
I think there's a different element at play here as well, because New York only has 2 NBA teams, right? And
Yep.
it didn't seem like the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, were ever going to get in the way. Like I don't think they were like
No.
they weren't it, it felt like the Knicks win was not at the expense of the other team, which
No. So for context, the Nets are, because this is something that I want to ask you about too, is like you were talking about the imposters, and like that you weren't the only person who was necessarily like not an Arsenal fan who was celebrating with the team. Like there's way more teams in London than there are basketball teams in New York. So I'm interested in drilling down on that. But yeah, to your point, like the Knicks the Knicks unify the city of New York in a way that other teams don't. The Nets are still kind of New Jersey's team.
sure.
They moved several years ago at this point. It was like 15 years ago maybe at this point that they moved from New Jersey to Brooklyn. But still, most of the people, like they've never been like much of a contender at all, really at all, since they've moved.
Mm.
They were bad for a long. They've been bad for a long time, or at least not title contenders for a while. And when their last good teams, or contending teams, truly, that felt like they really had the ability to make a title run, were back when they were in New Jersey. So like
Sure.
it doesn't feel like it's there's a house divided there at all. But yeah, the New York Knicks are kind of the team other than the New York Liberty and maybe New York, New Jersey, Gotham FC.
Mhm.
But even then, like those sports are just smaller in terms of history. Because or those teams are just smaller in terms of history because they haven't been around as long, but they haven't like built up this tension that the
Sure.
Knicks have. The Knicks have been a staple of culture in the city forever, really, it feels like. The If you go to baseball, New York's always been a city divided. Your Yankees, your
Right.
Giants or Dodgers back in the day. Today, it's you're either Yankees or Mets. It's a city divided. Football the same way. You're either Giants or Jets. Like one team winning a title there doesn't bring the whole city together. Hockey is divided as well between the Islanders, Rangers, and then you've got the New Jersey Devils there just across the river. So like the Knicks are kind of it. They're a team that again they had that drought for so long that they've kind of had like this almost like lovable loser thing going for a while. That like once they kind of break through the curse, things finally erupt. But to go back to your original point of like how or question about how close were the Knicks or how were they kind of beforehand last year, like the past couple of years they've made some deeper playoff runs. They made it to the Eastern Conference Final last year and then actually fired their coach, which was a really controversial
Wow.
move at the time. It ended up working out very well for them. They you know they kind of burned at their last coach kind of was accused of kind of burning out their stars and not kind of resting them or managing minutes well enough to get them let the team have the energy to go on a run all the way to the finals. And their head coach now, Mike Brown, just really brought them together well. They had a really nice balance of stars led by these three, this kind of core three of players that are called the Villanova Three because they all
Yeah.
went to Villanova and all won a national championship at Villanova together.
Wow.
Unfortunately, at Carolina's expense.
Yep.
But like this team is a very gritty team. They weren't like textbook dominant, even though they won like 12 games in a row in the playoffs. It never felt like in the finals that they ever truly had any of the games in hand. They actually spent more time, more game time losing by 10 or more points than they did winning any of the games. They just
Wicked.
timed their runs so well that they were able to come back and and win. And then, that was capped off by in game 4, the literal greatest comeback in finals history. Like to put the game 4 win for the Knicks in perspective for, a British audience, think of it as Liverpool and Istanbul. Like
Yeah.
it's that kind of level of comeback. They were down 29 points in the third quarter and they were at like 81-52 was the score with like a little more than 9 minutes left in the third quarter. And they came back and won to go up in the series
That
3
is
games
pretty
to 1.
amazing.
If you're the Spurs, how are you coming back from that mentally?
Sure.
So like just a truly like mentally resilient team, fascinating team to watch. We've talked about how like I'm not like the biggest pro basketball watcher in my free time, but man, I was locked in for this for the finals.
Wicked. Okay, so something I want to pick up there, which is where these two stories diverge so much, is that it sounds like the momentum for the Knicks carried through different coaches, and it kind of it was very much uh, a dogged mentality that persevered between different leaders of the team. One thing that I think uh, has to be, full credit given to Arsenal is that Arsenal just executed an immaculate title-winning plan that has been cooking for 6 or 7 years. There are some excellent articles on this on the Athletic, which I always encourage people to get. It's brilliant reporting. But the Arsenal hierarchy identified a window for winning the Premier League between 2023 and 2027. There was this window based on the ages and squad rotation at other teams, and buying players at certain ages so that you can build a team who are all physically and like mature, like sorry, let's do that again. And there was a focus on building a team at Arsenal where the players are literally the same age and they're all maturing at the same time. So they all have so much in common. They are good friends. There are like big social groups amongst different religions at Arsenal. There's this amazing community of players that every year when you're adding to the team, you're adding people of a similar age. You're not necessarily uh, springing for the new young superstar. If the squad age is 26 and 27, they're buying 26 and 27-year-old players just to build on this framework. And Arsenal stuck by this. I'm reluctant to call him a visionary manager. I think Mikel Arteta is a very, very good manager, but he's a good tactician and is clearly brilliant at building a community and a culture. They stuck by Arteta even with a couple of consecutive second place finishes, where some other teams, looking at Tottenham after the 2017-18 season where they came second and they thought all we need now is a better coach. That wasn't the case. Arsenal stuck with Arteta. They've let him build for 5 or 6 years now, and that team is undoubtedly his and made in his image, and that pooling of resources in a one central pointed direction has led Arsenal to being ready to take that step. And then this year, Liverpool sort of stepped aside. They had this transitional year, and lots of other reasons that Liverpool fell away. And Manchester City kind of stumbled, and Arsenal were ready to pounce and finally fulfill their sort of long awaited and much maligned destiny to win the Premier League again. And I think, as I said earlier, there's a huge amount of relief because Arsenal fans have been seeing this build and know that the clock was ticking, and whether or not they were going to actually execute on winning the league. And the fact that they have managed to do it this year, just lets that wash away, and that the the title is safe, the work was worthwhile, the team uh, was built properly, and it's now finally come through. Yeah, it's really interesting that this great relief for the Knicks and Arsenal seem to have come via very different strategies, but seemingly the stakes seemed equally high. If you're changing your manager,
Yeah.
Knicks, you're changing your general manager after going deep into last season's playoffs. That's a huge swing. There's huge courage there, and it's something that the fans have to trust the team that they know what they're doing. Much like the Arsenal fans have been trusting in the process with Arteta and their
Yeah.
current team. Um,
Yeah, there was a lot of doubter when the Knicks fired their head coach last year. There was a lot of people, I mean, like myself included, as more of a casual observer, just kind of like, wait a minute, what, really? Like the Knicks were one round away from being back in the finals for the first time
yeah,
since '99, and they're firing their coach. So yeah, definitely a little bit odd. But like you said, if you're if you've got the right plan, and you feel like that's sports, right?
yeah,
You have to pull those levers and twist those knobs and see, get the right formula in that will change something that's right on the precipice of a championship.
sure.
You got to get those moves exactly right to get you right over the hump. Otherwise, you could turn into Tottenham this year,
Yeah, true.
from those high heights that they had. So, but yeah, I think you have a bit of a grander theory on
I
these two
do.
cities and their sporting futility.
So now this is interesting because we actually get to view this across multiple sports in the US, but I'm going to focus specifically on football here. The other reason that I think the excitement and the fervor at the Emirates that night was so palpable was because, unlike New York, as you mentioned earlier, London as a footballing city is completely divided. There are 17 professional teams in London right now. Obviously, they based on promotion relegation that can fluctuate depending on who goes up and down, but seven of those 17 teams are in the top flight. So the vast majority, or it's seemingly the majority of football fans in London don't want Arsenal to win. And that is actually reflective that recently Arsenal has been a team that's kind of been joked about, that, they use different strategies to find like an edge that seem kind of cringeworthy. Um, and I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to like play into that because ultimately it's worked, right? They've won the title. I also think, and this is a really silly thing to say in June, I think Arsenal are probably favourites to win next year as well. Like these strategies have worked. But you've got Chelsea and Tottenham and West Ham, I mean, Fulham don't hate anyone. I don't think people who support Fulham have a wicked bone in their body. Or an excited bone in their body. I think that's quite a boring. It's a lovely team, but I think Fulham are a little bit dull. Um,
Hey, when your stadium is named after a cottage, it's tough to
yeah, you're
tough to
so right.
inspire a lot of excitement.
There's so a lot of I think it felt like there were a lot more. There are plenty of football fans in London that seemingly didn't want Arsenal to win, and there are a couple of reasons why. Number one, there are London rivalries. You don't want to see your rivals win. Number two, Arsenal did something that many others couldn't. Arsenal got to trump Manchester City. Manchester City's rise after their purchase by the Abu Dhabi royal family has meant that Manchester City, that was formerly quite a smaller fan base, certainly smaller in Manchester, this team suddenly rose from nowhere and became like the evil force, the new, you know, unstoppable, unimpeachable force in the Premier League, and that
Yeah, it like extends to city football. Like it feels like they're redefining.
yeah,
They're building a Death Star essentially.
yeah, precisely, and but so to conquer City, you want your team to do it. When one team in the league feels so strong, like the Yankees, um, it you want your team to be the one that conquers them, because anybody else that isn't you that can beat them, are immediately so far ahead of you. This is why a lot of Scottish football fans turned on Hearts at the end. Because if you're a Motherwell fan or if you're an Aberdeen fan, if anyone's going to break the Scottish duopoly, you want it to be your team, because if somebody else is going to break that duopoly, there are now three teams to worry about and not just two. So, when Man City have dominated the Premier League, Liverpool, loads of football fans made so much fun of Liverpool when they won in the COVID year. They called it the Asterix like the Asterix Premier League, and I think there was a lot of genuine jealousy because if anyone's going to beat Manchester City, you want it to be your team. So Arsenal finally conquered that, and lots of football fans in London and outside of London kind of didn't want Arsenal to be the ones to do it, because it would show that there is a new dominant force, especially now that Pep Guardiola leaves. And then the last reason that I think there's an interesting friction for Arsenal, and this now applies to the Knicks as well, is because typically the biggest cities, typically capital cities, but I think we could extrapolate this to New York. Capital cities in democratic countries tend not to win at sports as much as provincial towns, because in the development of sports and industrialization, provincial towns focus more on sport for primary entertainment and also as a method of social mobility for their athletes. That is not something that was necessarily important to fans of sport in capital cities, and uh, what I'm going to call more like culturally progressed cities in the time of industrialization. So, London, Paris, Rome. I would say New York more than Washington have won less championships despite being huge population centers. Even if you divided London by the number of top flight teams, they would still be overwhelmingly the biggest markets for the Premier League. Similarly, when was the last time New York is the biggest population, has the biggest market? When was the last time a New York team won the NFL, like won the Super Bowl, for instance?
Yeah, it was the Giants back in 2012 or around then,
So
whatever
like
Super Bowl
15 years ago,
40.
right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
So
mean,
these are things that are really stacked against, bizarrely, and it's like a weird thing to like. I'm not complaining about this. Like I think this is like a byproduct of just like how our like two nations grew, and it's not always the same. Like if you look at, I know Amsterdam isn't technically the capital of the Netherlands, but Ajax have dominated football in the Netherlands, so it's not consistent.
yeah, and
Ironically,
like you could say, like we are talking about, like there it varies by sport, and I don't know. I feel like there's a whole conversation to be had on this because like I don't know. Like obviously the Yankees have won far and away the most titles of anyone in baseball. They're but yeah, it's not as though like traditionally the New York teams other than them have been powers, but does that one team that's so dominant outweigh the others and kind of like
true.
go against your theory? I don't know, but
I mean, it
something.
does absolutely.
Yeah. So like I don't know. It'd be an interesting thing to explore. And I think it's also a tougher comparison in America because our leagues are so centralized. But
Sure.
that feels like a story for another day. I would like to get to the 2 minute warning since that's what the referee is just called for. So gotta abide by that. And real quick, um, I have my 2 minute warning question is a little bit silly, and it is: what player did you love as a kid for a weirdly specific reason?
I don't like Manchester United. I grew up as a kid not liking Manchester United, but I really liked the United Portuguese winger Nani because when he scored, he would do like multiple backflips. It was really cool. He would do like a full gymnastics routine, and he would score some like he was quite a like tricky player. He did lots of skills. He wasn't as good as like I remember with rose tinted glasses on, but whenever he scored, he would do like a treble somersault, and you always rooted for him to score because like if you're not if you're too young to really appreciate like the tactical elements of sport, like it's like the cool goals and the fun celebrations that you kind of watch for. And I wasn't
Yeah.
old enough to get it, so yeah, it was Nanny and his backflips. It's such a lame answer. I'm so
It's
embarrassed, and I hate Manchester
That's the
United.
perfect answer.
But
No,
and actually,
that's
Nanny
that's
played
the,
for or the
Orlando City,
Orlando.
or no, the Orlando City is too new.
Yeah, no, it's Orlando. Whatever. Nanny played in America. Cut that out. Okay, Adam. What was a player that you loved as a kid for a weirdly specific reason?
I'm picturing you in your backyard as a kid, like trying to do
Doing
little
cartwheels.
somersaults. The player I loved for a weirdly specific reason as a kid was a player. He was a first baseman, or he was a third baseman slash first baseman on the Boston Red Sox, named Kevin Youkilis. And he
Great
was
name.
awesome because for no other reason than his batting stance. He has the absolutely most unhinged batting stance that you have ever seen. I'm going to text you a picture of Kevin Youkilis. And I need you to I just realized my phone is bricked. I can't text you this picture. I meant to have it saved and I just couldn't. Shit. Okay.
Will you describe it for me?
Yeah. So Kevin Youkilis'
You could
batting
do it,
stance.
actually. You could
Yeah,
stand up and do it.
I was gonna say I can show you Kevin Youkilis' batting stance as best I can.
Okay, when Adam
I
steps
don't have a
away
lot
from
of
the
room to
mic-
step back.
When Adam
Yeah, I
steps
don't
away
have a
from
lot
the
of
mic,
room
I
to-
will describe as best I can.
Oh, great.
Kevin's. Is his name Kevin Eucalyptus?
Kevin Youkilis.
I was like, I'm
Close.
pretty sure
Close.
koalas eat eucalyptus. Okay, so show me,
okay, so I don't-
Kevin's.
I don't have a ton of room to step back here. So, like, a normal batting stance, you're somewhere, like, kind of right here.
Yep, cool.
Looking at the picture,
Adam's
your
just
arm's
got
somewhere over here.
He's got his imaginary bat over his right shoulder. This looks normal. No, wow, what a! And now he's just like shadow swinging. It's very good. Okay, now show me Mr.
Okay.
Eucalyptus's batting stance.
This is him. He would like stand and look at the picture way upright.
Okay,
in
so
his stance.
now
And he would do like he'd kind of chop down here a couple times, and then he ended up here.
Oh wow! So so you said he starts with his bat in a pretty typical position over his right shoulder, quite parallel with the ground. But then he would chop down on it, and then is this above the head? Is this before the pitch? Is this before the first pitch?
Yeah, this is before the pitch comes in, and then he would drop his hands down. But like his bat, like his hand would basically be like near the barrel of the bat, and
That's
it would
really
be
cool.
like the bat would be facing that way.
So
this is wild.
The two things I immediately thought about when you did that was it's giving like the Karate Kid, like a really cool like like a pose for like centering yourself, but also it's inescapably Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars.
Yeah, it might as well have a lightsaber in there.
Either way, I think that's a great reason to. Was he any good?
Yeah, he was. He was a pretty good player. In fact, I think he was. I'll have to look and see if he was officially inducted into the Instagram MLB Hall of Pretty Good, but he was definitely a pretty good player. I think he was. But anyway, that is our final whistle. Please leave a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review on Spotify, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok. Harry is still plowing away at the Which American City Has the Best Named Sports Team series, which is a ton of fun. He just got through Atlanta, and he is on to the NBA Finals losers, San Antonio, here up next. But yeah, appreciate your watching, and a special thanks to our producer Luke for our logo, as always, and we'll see you next time.